farmers to the large-scale farmers, they are all in agreement about farm policy, national farm policy, really confining them and trapping them and forcing them also to bear a tremendous amount of risk that those of us who eat the food don't bear in the same kinds of ways. So you can just imagine where this can go. There are also, I think, some real justice aspects to this. One of the concerns that came up in the eco-faith recovery community as we were considering inviting congregations to be pilot sites for this is, oh, some people probably have folks who are working their lawn for them, and most of those folks are Latinx folks who are in our area, and so, gosh, we wouldn't want something to happen that causes them to lose jobs, but some of them don't know how to do this kind of practice, so where's the kind of grant funding that would retrain some folks in lawn care, not just to take all the grass and the clippings off-site, but for people who want it. There's other ways to do this. My brother also mentioned, he's in California, I told him in his neighborhood there's all these folks doing native-scaping, and now that Mark has gotten me thinking about this, I said, what's going on there? He goes, oh, the state of California was giving out $2,000 tax credits because of our issues around water to anybody who would shift to native-scaping their lawn so that it didn't require the same level of water that grass would. So there's opportunities for public action too. So for people of faith who have common values, I think there's lots of implications of this. And for those who are interested in nuts and bolts kinds of things, there is a handout when you leave. Not everybody's going to want that. If you want to know a little more about what are some of the implications, how could we as a community of faith focus on that, there's a couple of pages over there. And I'm going to bring around also an interest and a feedback survey. I know our Earth Care folks who are going to talk again about this, and our council will be really interested to know what are you thinking in general for St. Andrew, but also are there ways that you could imagine yourself being involved in this? Maybe some ideas that you have in your head that haven't even been mentioned here that would be an implication of this kind of pilot initiative. I'll pass those out.
Do we have any other? Oh, we have another question. Yeah, that's right.
Thanks.
Well, it's just as much a comment that I think many of us are interested in doing some of these practices, whether we're measuring it or not. And so I don't think you necessarily have to be a part of a pilot program to start wanting to do some of these practices in our own yards, in our own backyards, and removing our plastic plants.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, the time to act was yesterday, right? So we need to get going. We need to do things. So if there's, but what are those actions? Maybe let me play dumb and say, well, I want to do some of these. What can I do? Well, we don't have that formally kind of written out. That's the kind of thing we need help with. Maybe, Carol takes a type of action that relates to the leaves. Mickey takes actions with beauty bark. Well, okay. Don't you want to kind of count that? Don't you want to say, it's like it's somewhere between like tithing and like collecting those little Campbell's soup labels for your school. You want to pull all that together and get credit. You want to make it known. You want others to get it, join the party, so to speak, right? And you want to also have a list to pick from. We haven't built that list to pick from. And if we're doing the list anyway, why not have some, at least approximation of what that beauty bark gives us for carbon? That has a certain amount of carbon attached to it, as do these others. So yes, absolutely, start doing your practice now if you understand it and you know about it. But if you're interested to help this initiative build those lists of, say, best management practices with your land, well then let's help pull those together. I don't at all, and I don't think any of the leaders to this point in the initiative think that they know all the practices. There are things you're doing here that will make it a better list of land practices to pick from, and that will make it richer and more useful to other people that may in turn be interested in taking the same kinds of practices you are doing already at your home. And maybe people to learn from. It's this rich kind of cross-pollination.
Yeah, so I have a question, maybe getting down into the weeds, so to speak. Our property has a big gully that is overrun with Himalayan blackberries and English ivy. We often call it gardening with foreign invasive species. But is that better from a carbon sequestration point of view? Or, I'm just trying to get out of work here. Or is there a better ground cover that we could put in if we got rid of that other stuff?
Okay, you've given me a nice little segue to put, or a little more framing on what this carbon community initiative is. And I would say, well, hey, have you talked to the Tualatin, correct me if I'm wrong, have you talked to the Tualatin Soil and Water Conservation District? They are, among other soil and water districts, on point for helping landowners remove those invasives, sometimes with grant or financial assistance, definitely with technical assistance that they offer. That's what, I believe it's a public taxpayer funded, mine is in East Multnomah County, the Soil and Water District. So you pay for it, so you might as well take advantage of it, right? So that would be the first thing. But why again am I saying that we're different in this initiative? No, you can go to all the workshops, all the organizations like Backyard Habitat or Soil and Water Conservation Districts, and the list goes on of all these places that there's lots of resources. Not one names climate change as the reason, as that point of focus why those actions exist. And we're coalescing and bringing this into an initiative, into a movement, okay? So I'm not talking about lateral partnerships with organizations. I'm just saying what sets us apart is that we are explicitly first and foremost, putting that this matters to us and we're feeling moved to action because of climate change. And yes, the same action as part of this initiative could be the same action a Tualatin Soil and Water Conservation District would potentially support or help sponsor or provide, support to say remove those Himalayan blackberries. It's just that their soil and water district is sort of tiptoeing around with not saying climate change. Because, because we can get a native plant in its place that's doing much more for us long term and for our ecosystem.
You seem to be implying that certain plants are doing more for the carbon sequestration than others. And when the leaves get hauled away from our property, which we get far more than we can deal with, yes, that's costing fuel, but it's getting collected down the street, so it's as efficient a pickup as it could be, and it's going to composting, so that's still sequestering that carbon.
Yeah, this isn't a critique of existing practices and saying one's right or wrong. This is a coming together and seeing, well, where are the advantages? Where do they exist? And what kinds of actions do we want to promote the most? Okay, so again, going back to that site-specific situation, it may be in your situation you get so many leaves you can only do so much on your site, and then you're taking a short travel with a truck to a local place to compost them. That may be the best option in your case. This is not prescriptive. Again, it's grassroots. It's not top-down. It's not telling somebody what they should do with their land at all. It's actually us deciding together what we want to do, and then even potential actions an individual decides to take. I would just encourage those individual actions to be in relationship with one another and be sharing that information, what's being learned within the community, and then as this community becomes, presumably, if it so decides, can be a benefit to other communities.
Thought we might be out of time. So in terms of choices, when we have our plots around our house or right at the base of our home, should one use, where to put it this way, bark dust or soil, planting soil, or some of these other mulches that are available in the market?
That's a great question. I think the vision here is that this community answers your question, or that through working with St Andrews, that I think the knowledge is already here. The last thing I want to do is, yeah. So I already know there's a lot of people, and I think every single person in the room has particular gifts, even if they aren't putting hands in the soil. They may be education, working with youth. They may be working with, Cheryl is a friend of mine from Salt and Light Lutheran. She does a lot of work with schools, and she's looking for more inroads to do things with climate change. There are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of gifts, and it's, I'm sort of a visitor today, I'm not giving the answers to you on what you need to do or what the best answers are. I can support them, and I definitely would. But the vision is that this community is informed, it's increased its learning, and it's in a position to share that learning that it's gained over time, the fruits of that learning.
Wow. What a gift. Please join me in thanking Mark for this generous gift of time and knowledge. After Dick talked to me about this vision, and then Eco-Faith Recovery was having a Metro Portland campaign discernment gathering, and there were 5 different opportunities to choose from, and one of them we wanted to be this, but Dick wasn't available to come, and I was up till 2 in the morning because I'm not the most expert on soil and plants, and emailed Mark really late. I said, I know I haven't even met you, but Dick says you're kind of his partner in this. Is there any chance you could come out tomorrow morning to join us at Eco-Faith? And he it wasn't 2 in the morning when I emailed him, but I think it might have been 10 at night by the time he emailed me back and said, sure, I'll be there, and brought Jess and Isaiah as well. So it's been an amazing gift to get. Mark and I have been getting to know each other on the fly while creating documents back and forth, and it's truly been a joy and a gift, and I continue to look forward to seeing what unfolds with this. There is a basket at the exit where you can place these sheets. You might just want to give general feedback to leadership at St. Andrew about what your thoughts were, other questions you think we still ought to engage more deeply, that's fine. If you've got ways that you're imagining you might be excited about getting involved with something like this, if St. Andrew does decide to become a pilot community in the carbon community emerging movement, then please indicate that as well. Use the back of the form for any other ideas you have that weren't mentioned today. And please just pray for Mark in this, pray for Dick, pray for all who are talking and thinking about this, and pray for the discernment of the St. Andrew community. And I'll offer a brief closing prayer right now. God, you have called us to be your beloved people in this amazing, wondrous earth community. And we all know we also fall very short of what you hope and imagine for us. Please lead and guide us to follow you wherever and however you are leading us next. In Jesus' name, amen.